guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is an entitled people story. So this happened years ago when I was in elementary school, so maybe 15 years ago, and I was living in Florida at the time. Anyone who lives in Florida knows how often new gated communities just pop up. So our neighborhood was established and has been before I even moved into the house. The house once belonged to my uncle. We had a neighborhood watch, but no HOA. The gated community was finally built and people were moving in. Now we don't have a bad neighborhood, but we had some strange colored houses. Lime green and magenta with giant metal lizards hanging all over it, is an example of one. Our house was simple, hand brick and half concrete painted white. It stood out compared to some of the other houses. The new gated community is a HOA community and they thought the ruled over all. Soon people in our neighborhood were receiving fines for their house color choices, their unsightly cars, not approved mailboxes, and other nitpicky things. My parents received some for my dad's boat being in the driveway and even our unruly yard. We had a bougainvillea, which grows like crazy and we were constantly trimming it. And we even got a fine for our fence. The old fence was chain link and the new fence was a wooden privacy fence. Don't ask why we had two different fences. My uncle only fenced in part of the house. It was still good fence, so my dad didn't want to rip it out. Well, my mom and dad would just pitch anything they saw coming from that gated community as they had fancy stationery. This went on for maybe 4 or 5 months. We would revive fines for not meeting HOA standards and other violations. We talked to our neighbors and they received them too. They tried to call and complain but were given the runaround and decided to pitch the mail as well. My mom received a phone call from her bank. They started to question her about the lien on the house that just appeared in the system. My parents had less than a year left on their payments for the house. They always paid extra every month for the house loan and were always in time. My mom was super confused and said there shouldn't be a lien. We don't have reason for there to be a lien. Turns out the gated community filed liens on almost every house in my neighborhood. My mom told the bank the situation and called a lawyer. I'm not all sure what happened, but I know a lot of the members of that HOA faced felony fraud charges and it was a just huge mess with a pretty big lawsuit against the HOA board. We were able to pay off the house after the lawsuit. We even had a big celebration on one of the roads, a huge cookout, and we met people we didn't know before. I even made new friends with some kids that I didn't even know existed. People moved out of the gated community due to bad press and a lot of the houses stood empty for a long time. When I moved away, there were still a lot of houses empty and it was like a ghost town. Last I heard, the name of the community changed and the houses were being filled up. So I guess the lesson is, leave our bright houses alone and mind your own business. The next story is titled "Oh, I Can't Read? Bet." Many moons ago I worked contract for a medical placement company in the employee health department of a rack and pinion steering plant. The plant was scheduled to close but they were still hiring. It was a head scratcher for us too. And extra help was needed for drug screens on the new hires. The other duties were seeing to injuries as they occurred, setting up appointments with doc on days he would come, flu shots, and then there was the project. Here's where the story begins. The project was a collection of every medical piece of paper in that plant. All of them. Scattered in boxes, stacked to the ceiling. No sense of order at all. 2 of the veteran nurses would periodically adjourn down to the war room, as it was dubbed, to do whatever they did with the mess. I was enlisted to help one day and succeeded in only managing to screw up the Excel spreadsheet, named Apricot for reasons I've yet to understand, they were using to attempt to collate this mess. On days when we were slow, if we had no patience, I'd stay at my post and read. And one of those days, the boss lady came by and decided to take umbrage at that hobby. I should add that if I was reading, everything was stocked, all other projects were done, and I'd already been yelled at for sweeping up after myself. I'd really rather you not do that. I need you doing work. It looks bad. Okay. What else needs to be done? After she looks around at all I've done. Nothing. You're done. Just don't read. So, I sat. I'm not a good sitter. Fast forward, she gets sick, and a temporary boss comes in. I get assigned the project. It takes a minute, but I get it whipped into shape. First, I sorted papers into folders by name. Then I organized by dates on papers, past to recent in each file. Then I alphabetized the folders and put them in boxes. What had taken the other 2 nurses months on end took me a few weeks. After that, I started a new Excel spreadsheet. Data entry is one of my favorite things and I'm fast. Name, Dob, first date listed, last date listed. Easy peasy. I was blowing through 20 to 30 boxes a day. I only took lunch and bathroom breaks. The boss comes back from sick leave, walks in and goes pale. What happened? Nothing, I've been working super hard. Is it not done right? It's great, but it's gone. Yes ma'am, I've made decent progress. She hawed around and finally muttered, I need you to slow down. Sorry? I need you to slow down. We told them we needed at least X amount of time to complete that project, and as fast as you've gone, there won't be any work left to do. So, what else can I do? Do a box, read a book. Do a box, take a nap. Just slow down. Bring your book, or several books. Just slow down. And that's how I got permission to read in my downtime at work. Might not be the best MC story, but after 15 years it still makes me laugh. The next story is titled Throwing Racists Off the Train. First time posting anything, sorry for any mistakes. Warning, this is a bit of a long story. This happened to me, currently 40F, about 8 to 10 years ago, so 30 to 32 at the time. I was traveling by train, light rail from SeaTac Airport to my place in the heart of Seattle. Coming home from a 12-week vacation sightseeing all over the US, I was tired and ready for my own bed. I loved the ride into the city, it's beautiful. I made sure to come home around dusk for the pinks and purples over the city, so it was maybe 4:05 p.m., mid-February. The details. The light rail is somewhat full this evening. Behind me, on the other side of the train doors, sits a kid, maybe 17 to 20-ish, looking at the ground, listening to music with huge headphones, bobbing his head to music with his overly stuffed backpack tucked under his seat. His seat faces the aisle, looking at an older couple. The couple in their 60s or so, holding on to 3 large luggage on wheels and a carry-on attachment as well as the lady's purse. The wife sits in the 2 seats facing the way the train is traveling, and the man in the pull-down disabled seats facing across the aisle, looking right at the kid. The man manages the 2 big ones on wheels while his wife has the rest. This will be relevant later. In front of me are the doors, on the other side is a commuter holding his bike up and out of the way. Beyond them an assortment of people commuting with travel luggage or for work. The situation. I'm staring out the window, facing the direction the train is moving, in awe at the sights as we move through the stations. From behind me I hear the older man say to his wife, with a southern-like accent, "Can't believe he chose here for school. Next time he can come home to visit. Look at this." They don't even try to hide it. Not sure what he is talking about, I look back over my shoulder to see him wave his hand low in the kid's sightline. The kid, minding his own business, acknowledges the hand, takes off his headphone and looks at the man. The man asks the kid, "Why you dressed like a N-word?" "I mean, we see what you are. Respect goes a long way, don't dress like one." Yup, that just happened. I was floored. Livid. I whip my body around in my seat to look at them head on. Others on the train turn to take in what is happening. The kid looks shocked, rightfully so. Says, "Nah, man. Duck off with that." And leans back to put his headphones back on, and starts texting someone immediately. The guy turns to his wife and says, I hope they're not going to be everywhere. I am ducking hate N-words." Waves his hand at the kid while adding, "I want to know why he got to dress like a N-word. We all know he is one, why he got to dress like it too. Like he's asking for it. I think, asking for it. What the duck does that mean?" I speak up. "Leave him alone." The couple looks at me. Wife, still saying nothing, just rolls her eyes. The guy replies, "So they all N-word lovers here? Mind your business." He says to me, "Yes, all of us. Leave him alone." Kid takes off his headphones and the guy start asking the kid, "We see you a N-word. Why you got to dress like it too?" At this point the kid is on the phone with what sounded like his girlfriend. Saying, "Baby? This couple is harassing me, and I don't know what to do." This time I stand and place my body between them and the kid while saying, "Racists are not welcome. You are not welcome. Go home, cause your behavior is not welcome here." The man with a sterner, now irritated voice tells me to mind my business and sit down. This always makes me laugh, bullies don't scare me. Standing firm, I told him this is my business. He is a visitor in our city, and this is not acceptable. I will not stand by and just allow this to happen. The guy starts laughing, saying while gesturing to the kid how the N-word is scared. I don't know where this is all going, but it doesn't feel like this guy is going to get less intense anytime soon. I have had it. We are pulling up to a station and the doors open. I grab the luggage on wheels, jerking it from his hand and chuck it out the doors while yelling, "Go home, we don't want you here. You racist pieces of crap. Leave." I grab the big one from the lady and chuck it off. They get up as quickly as they can manage and shuffle out the door while the guy lifts his fist in my face. I locked eyes with him and said, "Better move quicker, you racist piece of crap." The doors close as I'm flipping them off. I do not like dealing with hateful people. Such baby bullies. I whip around and ask the kid if he is okay. Watching with a shocked expression and still on the phone, a smirk washes across his face. He says, "Hold on, this lady just threw them off the train." He thanked me, expressing he didn't know if this would have put him in jail. Telling me he couldn't imagine telling a judge why he had to punch an elderly white man. While slightly chuckling he says, "I thought today was the day I go to jail." I awkwardly laugh, not sure what else to do there, slightly heartbroken. That is his reality. I walk back to my luggage and sit down. Looking around, I'm getting a lot more smiles and nods from everyone on the light rail. As some exited, they thanked me or told me good job. I always think it's weird when people do not stand up for each other. I wanted to yell at them to do better. Sadly, I am not shocked anymore by the lack of standing up to bullies. This is not even the craziest thing that has happened to me around Seattle on public transportation. In reflection, every now and then I wonder what happened to that kid. Both the kids really. I hope the son of those dip craps broke the chain of generational racism. I hope the kid on the train still tells the story from a safe place and is never backed into a corner like that again. I hope those racist entitled parents left Washington and never returned. Anyway, I've been wanting to share this for some time now. Hopefully I posted this in the right place. The next story is titled "Never Be Rude to People in Small Retail Shops." When I was 16, I worked for my uncle. He was a tailor, but also had clothes store next door to his main shop. He let me run the clothes store, which basically involved keeping it clean, serving customers and displaying stock. He ran the business side of it. I was paid to essentially sit there all day. It was a pretty quiet store in a quiet area, so it was a pretty cruisy job, great for school holidays. Whenever we got new stock in, I would have to put the price tags on myself. Most of the clothes we sold were men's office workwear, suits, shirts, trousers and the like. Average price for a suit was around $150 to $200. One day, I had a belligerent customer come in. He saw that I was quite young, so he took to bullying me around. He would swear and act very impatient, and would call me slow and stupid. I'd dealt with rude customers before, but this guy was far too much. To the best of my knowledge, I hadn't done anything wrong. He may have been having a bad day, but to me that doesn't excuse the insults. He had come in quite early. Usually we opened at 9, but didn't get any customers until much later. It was rare to get any customers before 11. That morning I had gotten a load of new stock in, and hadn't finished putting on the price tags as it was a huge amount of new stock in. So, because of his rudeness, I decided that I would charge him much, much more. Either he would decide it was too expensive, or we would make a lot more money. He selected 3 suits, and I told him they were $500 for the first 2, with the third being $700. They were actually around $200. We haggled a bit, and I sold them for around $350 for this first 2, and $600 for the third. He was quite happy with what he saw as a major victory. I was quite happy I made an extra $700. I told my uncle what happened, and he let me keep a percentage of the money as a bonus. My uncle knew that particular customer and had had issues with him before. Perhaps it wasn't the morally correct thing to do, but it serves to show you shouldn't be rude. The next story is titled "Dinner Date with a Guest." Okay, wow. I did not expect this story to blow up like this. Thank you all for your kind comments. I am going to try to answer some of you. This story took place 4 years ago when I was 19. I lost my mom when I was 6, and despite the young age, my memories of that time are very vivid. I remember the lack of kindness that seemed to be everywhere. It was also the first time that I saw my father cry. This guest reminded me of that time, and I wanted to make sure he knew he wasn't alone. I was raised in the hospitality industry. My dad buys old hotels, motels and fixes them up, then sells them again. During the fix-up process he keeps them operating like normal hotels. As his oldest child, it was usually my responsibility to help keep things running. So, I thought I'd share some of my favorite tales. This one take place after I decided to stretch my wings and work for a hotel not owned by my family. I was alternating between second and third shift at this hotel. Now at the time I had my hair dyed a ridiculously bright red, like fire truck red, and while my boss had been hesitant to let me keep it, I never got anything from compliments from guests. This particular hotel was located near a hospital and offered a discount and shuttle service for people with relatives at the hospital. During one of my second shifts this older man comes to check in. He's staying for a week with the hospital rate and looks very distressed. His English isn't great, but he does his best. Several times during the process he mentions how much he likes my hair. He also got very talkative about why he was staying there. Since it was a slow night I indulged him. Turns out that his wife had been flown to our hospital from Puerto Rico. After he checked in he went to the hospital to check on his wife and stayed there for a while. I was still on shift when he returned, and he asked me where he could get some food. I gave him a list of restaurants that delivered to us. He asked which was my favorite and what I liked to eat there, then wandered off to make his call, then lingered around the lobby waiting for the delivery. When the delivery showed up he brought his food to the desk and set a box in front of me. He told me that he hadn't eaten dinner alone in 50 years and he wasn't ready to start. He had ordered the food that I told him was my favorite and was hoping that I'd be able to eat with him. Since my relief had showed up already I clocked out early and sat in the breakfast room with the guest to eat our food. Every night after that was the same thing. He'd come home from the hospital and ask me to order food for him, so he'd get the front desk discount and I'd order my own food or warm up whatever I brought. His wife wasn't doing good, and he ended up having to stay with us for almost 2 months. We had dinner together every night. I lived 2 blocks away and would come in on my days off. The guy was really nice and really lonely. His wife wasn't doing good and none of his kids were able to get to the US. He called me Red even after I'd changed my hair and would tell me all about his life in Puerto Rico and his kids. After a lifetime of crappy guests, it was a really great experience. His wife ended up passing away in the hospital and he made sure to wait for me to come into work to leave and thanked me for the dinners and let me know that I'd made a hard time a little bit better. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.